Gotta talk about the mistake we made.
Okay. You gotta put it out there, huh?
I'm gonna put it out there. And we're back. Welcome back. The Wins and the Grind is back, series 3.
Woo!
Lisa, where the heck have you been? My goodness. Like,
It I don't know. If you if you ask me that question point blank, I freeze like a deer in headlights. I don't know. It's been busy and wonderful. It's that time of life when everything every day is filled with so much. Prepping for college and getting ready for graduation on the kids' side and growing companies and trying to maneuver a world that you don't even know what's going to happen in the next day. So
AI
there's
will
just
tell
a
you.
lot
Don't worry,
going
AI's
on.
got you. AI's got you.
That's true. I'll just plug my brain into that and just kind of hit go. But I don't know. What about you?
Well, so my daughter's in school in the beach, and my wife decided to let me buy her a house at the beach. So,
That was nice of her.
well, is it because she's that much closer to her baby that is in college now? I don't know. Call it what you want to call it. I've been dying to get into real estate, so now now I have 3 jobs. So at first it was
Oh,
dad, husband, and the company that I work at, and now I've got this on top of all that. So the Wins and the Grind is a great reprieve for me, but I've got to talk about the mistake we made.
okay. You got to put it out there, huh?
I'm gonna put it out there. We
Okay.
had this wonderful idea for series 3. We were gonna interview 3 different demographics. We were gonna talk about their success, the pluses, the minuses, and then we're gonna do some compare and contrast and bring in some people. It was gonna be awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, that went to hell in a handbasket.
It did. We did it.
Fair
And
statement.
we learned a lot. How's that?
Well, you know what? That kind of goes into what we're going to talk
It
about
does.
today.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you said that because it was kind of like we thought we had it all and it was going to play out, and no, we learned some stuff. And first of all, the 6 ladies that we interviewed, it was awesome spending time with them. We learned that we just know awesome people, and so that may have kind of skewed what should or should not have happened. But then again, I think what we're going to talk about today, because today's video title is called Teach Them and Let Them Explore, or as Lisa likes to call it,
Back off, boomer. That's what I'm going with. I got the AKA version of, I don't know,
Lisa
a little
decided
on
to
the
get
rough around the
extra.
edges
Yeah,
today.
she
I
decided to get
cheat.
extra creative. So we're going to talk about, we're going to take those interviews, put them in the back of our minds here, and kind of talk about some things that we learned. And today's session was actually what we heard, the feedback that we heard from our I would say, how do we classify these wonderful ladies getting
Well,
into
the
the
younger generation,
right, younger
right?
generations? Yeah. And
Right. So again, our Gen Xer view of the world, right? We wanted to talk to folks who, um, well, let's lay it out there, right? So we've got college age who are just getting into potentially internships, just having their first exposure to professional life, right?
right.
Then we have 2 of our folks who are young professionals, a couple years in, past internships, first or second real job. And I
First
say
big
real
person
job,
job, or as
big
I the
person, full time.
first
Yeah.
big boy job. That's what I would
Yep.
say.
Yep. And then we've got 2 others who are, about 5 to 7 years into their career. So again, younger generations fully,
Yeah.
but similar in their sort of position in life, not necessarily married, not necessarily having kids yet, not necessarily, kind of having different poles that we do and that we talk about.
So I'm going to throw my win in early. So
Okay.
Esco's win of this video is always be ready to learn. I don't care what age you are, always be ready to learn, because my eyes were way widened by some of the responses that we were getting from these wonderful people, and I was taken back, meaning I think it kind of recalibrated my view of how to work with people. So it was awesome that I got to interview these wonderful people and just hear a lot of consistent things and a lot of like helpful things. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw that out there. Lisa, do we want to jump into teach me, don't belittle me, or do we want to talk about your win for this video series?
Yeah, let's jump into it. I have a lot of wins. I
Okay.
think your point about the consistency was actually one of our learning parts, right? And some of the things that we'll talk about here for sure. But let's jump into the piece about their opinion on what their, I'll call it their voice at work,
Yep.
and their how they are called upon to do the job that they were hired to do. How's
Yeah.
that?
So I'll let me throw this tidbit out there.
Okay.
First, real job. How do I dress? How do I talk to people? Is it yes sir, no ma'am, that kind of stuff. Is how do I write an email? Is to whom it may concern. It was it, all of those things were concerns for our younger, newer to the workforce folks. And the fear on the other side of that was like, I got to go learn from this person that's been doing this for 2 decades. And I have a feeling that it's going to be painful for me because I'm not as efficient as they are. So it kind of hurt my heart to hear that. We were kind of stamping out a potential flame that could, go into a bonfire for the company. And yet, they were already having anxiety about getting into the workforce. So that was interesting for me.
It was because our first time walking in a professional environment was so long ago, you forget some of those things.
Yeah.
And to hear that fresh take on walking into an office for the first time, or even if it's a second job and the first job was fully remote, what does it mean? Do I bring my lunch? Do I have somebody to sit with? It's all of these things that sometimes older generations in the workforce can take for granted, that even starting new jobs, it's still a similar professional environment. So it was refreshing, I think, to your point, to hear what are the true, not even necessarily fears, some fears, but concerns, and just questions, and who do they ask? And I think that was a lot of the opportunity that we had in our interviews, to hear from them and also share some of our insights as well.
So what I also heard was there was a desire to learn,
Very much
and
so.
it was you we had the opportunity to be a mentor and to really start that type of relationship with a younger, newer to the workforce person. And how do you mentor them, give them the give them a lot of kudos as they're getting through things, show give them a little polish. Hey, try this next time. I get what you were saying there, probably a little bit better delivered this way, but you know don't be that back in my day.
Right. That's kind of what, yeah. It's so easy to fall into that trap. Even if you don't say those words,
Right.
the sentiment is there, right?
Well, and that's where the stigma comes from, the
Right?
anxiety of, well, I got to go talk to Esco and he's been doing this for so long. He's probably going to make me feel like a jerk cuz I don't know how to do this. What kind of learning opportunities have you seen, in your, I guess, place, I got to say place of business cuz there's a lot going on over there at Full Tilt. Uh, what kind of learning opportunities have you seen happen, and have you gotten to take a part of, or be a part of?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is the unintended opportunities
Ooh.
for interaction between, or maybe unplanned, not unintended, actually quite the opposite. Very intended plan, but
Yeah.
unplanned interactions at work. And that is sort of the hearing conversations that a more, I'll call, seasoned professional might be having with a client, and consulting them in some way, or working through a problem.
Right.
And our team, who, you know, honestly, lifelong learners ready to learn, will follow up on those conversations and say, okay, what I was sort of, one-sided hearing, kind of how did that issue come about, and how are you resolving it? uh, over the coffee machine and, sort of that water cooler talk that only happens
What's a water
when
cooler?
people are together. I know. What's a water cooler? The water filter talk. I don't know. It's the coffee
The
machine.
Brita talk.
For this, right. Whatever that is. But those real opportunities, yes, professional development is important and structured opportunities to learn and teach, but almost well, certainly equally as important are those unplanned moments.
Yeah.
We find.
I was there was a comment that was made in one of our interviews which
Oh,
blew me out of the water, and it was one of our interviewees said, "I've learned stuff and I've done stuff. Give me an opportunity to show you what I got."
yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, duh." But then wait, the fact that it had to be stated hurt my heart a little bit, you know? And
Everyone felt like they had to say that. So
that's
that's that
true.
consistency piece that was
That's
telling
true.
us the story. Everyone said that. Everyone said that almost as a priority. I have lived a life to this point in time. I have experiences, and in our business, that experience of living and reading the news and whatever that is equally as important, right? And then you continue to hone your craft, but being in the moment, having a parent that works in a particular industry that now is a client, all of those things are really, really important.
I was quite impressed by that, and I was
I was too.
impressed that it had to be stated. But to your point, you know, it was kind of so. This whole video series is going to be about these interviews that we made, where we thought we had it all under control, and these young people taught us something. This whole video series is going to be about that. Lisa, your win and your grind for this episode, lay it out for me.
Yeah, the win here is to listen to this group of folks and really create opportunities for them to have a voice and for them to stretch what they know into new skill sets, I
Okay,
would call them.
gotcha. Love it.
You already did your win,
I did my win, but
right?
there's one thing I want to double click into.
Yeah.
So let's, because you talked about this, the water cooler scenario. Hey, this happened to me. Here's what I did. Like, eh, how do you mentor
Oh.
without hovering? You know, and how do you give people the opportunity to learn, but then also waiting for them to fail so that we can be there to be the backstop. But then also they may surprise you and teach you something. I was like, to me, that's a huge just thing to be aware of, all that whole dynamic. And we talked about it in our last video series. We've got generational differences in the workforce.
Yeah.
And so navigating all those and being open-minded and open-eyed to me was something that I wanted to make sure that we gave our younger employees and colleagues the opportunity to do.
Yeah, because we win when we embrace that diversity of thought. And that comes with living life and experiencing life in different phases, right?
Absolutely.
Experiencing 9/11 as a 20-year-old is a different experience than 9/11 as a 50-year-old. Experiencing a pandemic at 30 is different than 15, right?
Graduating
Or
high school in a pandemic.
absolutely, right? Which you don't get to do, and you have a virtual walk across like, what does that do,
Yeah.
right? And all those things play into it. But and to go back to something you said, right? How do you mentor without hovering? And I think there are two different things in my mind. To find a mentor who's not your manager is critically
Mhm.
important. So it could even be somebody at your company, not even necessarily ideally, but if it is, it's somebody in a different department, not even like a two-step manager, right? Somebody completely different with a different perspective. Um, then the coaching piece comes from the manager. And that is setting aside time in one-on-ones. So one-on-ones have just increasingly become riffing off a to-do list,
Yeah.
right? There has to be, whether it's in that meeting or a totally separate meeting, for the coaching piece to happen,
Yes.
and it has to be consistent.
Yes, yes, yes. This is going to be a great series. This is video 1. Thanks for tuning in. Video 2, seek to understand. If for nothing else, tune in to find out what Lisa really called these episodes. Enable their success is video 3, and then help them understand their relationships with work, which is a real mature conversation. That is video series 4. So thank you for tuning in to the Wins and the Grind series 3. We'll catch you on the next one. Bye, everybody.
See ya.